Chapter 6 The most important commandment. Moses said to Israel, "The Lord told me to give you these laws and teachings, so you can obey them in the land He is giving you. Soon you will cross the river Jordan and take the land. And if you and your descendants want to live a long time, you must always worship the Lord and obey His laws. Pay attention, Israel. Our ancestors worshipped the Lord, and He promised to give us this land that is rich with milk and honey. Be careful to obey Him, and you will become a successful and powerful nation. Listen, Israel, the Lord our God is the only true God. So love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. Memorize His laws and tell them to your children over and over again. Talk about them all the time. Whether you are at home or walking along the road or going to bed at night or getting up in the morning, write down copies and tie them to your wrists and foreheads to help you obey them. Write these laws on the door frames of your homes and on your town gates. Worship only the Lord. Moses said to Israel, "The Lord promised to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that He would give you this land. Now He will take you there and give you large towns with good buildings that you didn't build and houses full of good things that you didn't put there. The Lord will give you wells that you didn't have to dig and vineyards and olive orchards that you didn't have to plant. But when you have eaten so much that you can't eat anymore, don't forget it was the Lord who set you free from slavery and brought you out of Egypt. Worship and obey the Lord your God with fear and trembling and promise that you will be loyal to Him. Don't have anything to do with gods that are worshipped by the nations around you. If you worship other gods, the Lord will be furious and wipe you off the face of the earth. The Lord your God is with you, so don't try to make Him prove that He can help you, as you did at Massah. Always obey the laws that the Lord has given you and live in a way that pleases Him. Then you will be able to go in and take this good land from your enemies, just as He promised to your ancestors." Someday your children will ask, "Why did the Lord give us these laws and teachings?" Then you will answer, "We were slaves of King of Egypt, but the Lord used His great power and set us free. We saw Him perform miracles and make horrible things happen to the king, his officers, and everyone else. The Lord rescued us from Egypt, so He could bring us into this land as He had promised our ancestors. That's why the Lord our God demands that we obey His laws and worship Him with fear and trembling. And if we do, He will protect us and help us be successful." Chapter 7 Force the other nations out of the land. This is also told in Exodus 34:11-16. Moses said, "People of Israel, the Lord your God will help you take the land of the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. These 7 nations have more people and are stronger than Israel, but when you attack them, the Lord will force them out of the land. Then you must destroy them without mercy. Don't make any peace treaties with them. Don't let your sons and daughters marry any of them. If you do, those people will lead your descendants to worship other gods and to turn their backs on the Lord. That will make Him very angry, and He will quickly destroy Israel. So when you conquer these nations, tear down the altars where they worship their gods. Break up their sacred stones, cut down the poles that they use in worshiping the goddess Asherah, and throw their idols in the fire. The Lord's chosen people." Moses said, "Israel, you are the chosen people of the Lord your God. There are many nations on this earth, but He chose only Israel to be His very own. You were the weakest of all nations, but the Lord chose you because He loves you, and because he had made a promise to your ancestors. Then with his mighty arm he rescued you from the king of Egypt, who had made you his slaves. You know that the Lord your God is the only true God, so love him and obey his commands, and he will faithfully keep his agreement with you and your descendants for 1,000 generations. But if you turn against the Lord, he will quickly destroy you. So be sure to obey his laws and teachings I am giving you today. The Lord will bless you if you obey. This is also told in Deuteronomy 28, 1-14, Leviticus 26, 3-13. Moses said to Israel, if you completely obey these laws, the Lord your God will be loyal and keep the agreement he made with you, just as he promised our ancestors. The Lord will love you and bless you by giving you many children and plenty of food, wine, and olive oil. Your herds of cattle will have many calves, and your flocks of sheep will have many lambs. God will bless you more than any other nation. Your families will grow, and your livestock increase. You will no longer suffer with the same horrible diseases that you sometimes had in Egypt. You will be healthy, but the Lord will make your enemies suffer from those diseases. Destroy the nations and their gods. Moses said to Israel, when the Lord helps you defeat your enemies, you must destroy them without pity, and don't get trapped into worshiping their gods. You may be thinking, how can we destroy these nations? They are more powerful than we are. But stop worrying. Just remember what the Lord your God did to Egypt and its king. You saw how the Lord used his tremendous power to work great miracles and bring you out of Egypt. And he will again work miracles for you when you face these enemies you fear so much. Some of them may try to survive by hiding from you, but the Lord will make them panic, and soon they will be dead. So don't be frightened when you meet them in battle. The Lord your God is great and fearsome, and he will fight at your side. As you attack these nations, the Lord will force them out little by little. He won't let you get rid of them all at once. If he did, there wouldn't be enough people living in the land to keep down the number of wild animals. But when you attack your enemies, the Lord will make them panic, and you will easily destroy them. You will defeat them one after another until they are gone, and no one will remember they ever lived. After you conquer a nation, burn their idols. Don't get trapped into wanting the silver or gold on an idol. Even the metal on an idol is disgusting to the Lord, so destroy it. If you bring it home with you, both you and your house will be destroyed. Stay away from those disgusting idols. Chapter 8. The Lord takes care of you. Moses said, Israel, do you want to go into the land the Lord promised to your ancestors? Do you want to capture it, live there, and become a powerful nation? Then be sure to obey every command I am giving you. Don't forget how the Lord your God has led you through the desert for the past 40 years. He wanted to find out if you were truly willing to obey him and depend on him. So he made you go hungry. Then he gave you manna, a kind of food that you and your ancestors had never even heard about. The Lord was teaching you that people need more than food to live. They need every word that the Lord has spoken. Over the past 40 years, your clothing hasn't worn out and your feet haven't swollen. So keep in mind that the Lord has been correcting you, just as parents correct their children. Obey the commands the Lord your God has given you and worship him with fear and trembling. The Lord your God is bringing you into a good land with streams that flow from springs in the valleys and hills. You can dig for copper in those hills, and the stones are made of iron one, and you won't go hungry. Wheat and barley fields are everywhere, and so are vineyards and orchards full of fig, pomegranate, and olive trees, and there is plenty of honey. Don't forget the Lord. Moses said to Israel, after you eat and are full, give praise to the Lord your God for the good land he gave you. Make sure that you never forget the Lord or disobey His laws and teachings that I am giving you today. If you always obey them, you will have plenty to eat, and you will build good houses to live in. You will get more and more cattle, sheep, silver, gold, and other possessions. But when all this happens, don't be proud. Don't forget that you were once slaves in Egypt, and that it was the Lord who set you free. Remember how He led you in that huge and frightening desert, where poisonous snakes and scorpions live. There was no water, but the Lord split open a rock, and water poured out so you could drink. He also gave you manna, a kind of food your ancestors had never even heard about. The Lord was testing you to make you trust Him, so that later on He could be good to you. When you become successful, don't say, I'm rich and I've earned it all myself. Instead, remember that the Lord your God gives you the strength to make a living. That's how He keeps the promise He made to your ancestors. But I'm warning you, if you forget the Lord your God and worship other gods, the Lord will destroy you, just as He destroyed the nations you fought. Chapter 9, Why the Lord will help Israel. Moses said, Israel, listen to me. You will soon cross the river Jordan and go into the land to force out the nations that live there. They are more powerful than you are, and the walls around their cities reach to the sky. Some of these nations are descendants of the Anakim. You know how tall and strong they are, and you've heard that no one can defeat them in battle. But the Lord your God has promised to go ahead of you like a raging fire, burning everything in its path. So when you attack your enemies, it'll be easy for you to destroy them and take their land. After the Lord helps you wipe out these nations and conquer their land, don't think He did it because you are such good people. You aren't good. You are stubborn. No, the Lord is going to help you because the nations that live there are evil, and because He wants to keep the promise He made to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When Israel made an idol, this is also told in Exodus 32. Moses said to Israel, don't ever forget how you kept rebelling and making the Lord angry the whole time you were in the desert. You rebelled from the day you left Egypt until the day you arrived here. At Mount Sinai, you made the Lord so angry that He was going to destroy you. It happened during those 40 days and nights that I was on the mountain, without anything to eat or drink. He had told me to come up there so He could give me the agreement He made with us. And this agreement was actually the same 10 commandments He had announced to you when He spoke from the fire on the mountain. The Lord had written them on 2 flat stones with His own hand. But after giving them the 2 stones, He said, Moses, hurry down the mountain to those people who you led out of Egypt. They have already disobeyed me and committed the terrible sin of making an idol. I've been watching the Israelites and I've seen how stubborn and rebellious they are. So don't try to stop me. I am going to wipe them out, and no one on earth will remember they ever lived. Then I will let your descendants become an even bigger and more powerful nation than Israel. Moses said, Fire was raging on the mountaintop as I went back down, carrying the 2 stones with the commandments on them. I saw how quickly you had sinned and disobeyed the Lord your God. There you were, worshipping the metal idol you had made in the shape of a calf. So I threw down the 2 stones and smashed them before your very eyes. I bowed down at the place of worship and prayed to the Lord, without eating or drinking for 40 days and nights. You had committed a terrible sin by making that idol, and the Lord hated what you had done. He was angry enough to destroy all of you and Aaron as well. So I prayed for you and Aaron as I had done before, and this time the Lord answered my prayers. It was a sin for you to make that idol, so I threw it into the fire to melt it down. Then I took the lump of gold, ground it into powder, and threw the powder into the stream flowing down the mountain. You also made the Lord angry when you were staying at Taberah, at Massa, and at Kibroth Hatava. Then at Kadesh Barnea, the Lord said, I am giving you the land, so go ahead and take it. But since you didn't trust the Lord, you rebelled and disobeyed his command. In fact, you've rebelled against the Lord for as long as he has known you. After you had made the idol in the shape of a calf, the Lord said he was going to destroy you. So I bowed down in front of the sacred tent for 40 days and nights, and I prayed, Our Lord, please don't wipe out your people. You used your great power to rescue them from Egypt and to make them your very own. Israel's ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob obeyed you faithfully. Think about them and not about Israel's stubbornness, evil, and sin. If you destroy your people, the Egyptians will say, The Lord promised to give Israel land, but he wasn't powerful enough to keep his promise. In fact, he hated them so much that he took them into the desert and killed them. But you, our Lord, chose the people of Israel to be your own, and with your mighty power you rescued them from Egypt.